Good evening, traders. It's Mark here from the Day Trading Room. The time is 22:10 on Thursday, the 15th of Thursday the 16th of September, and another very slow day in the market. So let's run through what we got up to and some of the trades that we did today. Another profitable day, but again, all of my trades were within the first hour. It seems to be a pattern at the moment. I'm looking and watching the last hour or so, but I can't find any really good opportunities to get on the end of with any size. So I'm attacking the market quite aggressively in the first hour, and then just backing off and just setting some alerts for any volume increase. So let's get around to what we got up to today. Well, this was the picture we had going into Thursday's open. We had a good range here, really. That was key to me, was this 10503 or the 10500 top of the range, and the bottom of the range was at 10470, and this is the lines that I'd drawn in. We had two rejections around the 10520 level, one here and one here, which is why I've got the line in there. And then below that, we've got this key level from yesterday, which is around yesterday's low, and there's probably another level around there, intermediate. So, but really, these were the two key levels. So that was the sort of levels that we'd put on our chart, and we carried those over onto our 1 minute chart. So these were the white lines here, were the levels of interest that we're just showing on the 5 minute chart. Also, that 10470 level coincided with a really good support on the overnight trade, so that made that 10470 level even more important. And the overnight low was around the 10458 level, so that was marked on our chart too. So what was our premise at the open? Well, two premises as usual, and I like to think of two longer targets for our scalps, for our day trades, and how we're going to play it. As we're coming up to the open, we could see that the open was going to be around this sort of level we can see in the futures before the opening price, and that's smack bang in the middle of our range. So what's our premise? Well, premise is going to be to jump on a move and look for a push towards this. The second target would be the gap fill. The final target would be yesterday's high. Similarly, on the downside, we'd look for that good support level at 10470 to be tagged for a breakthrough, and then for the overnight low to be tagged. But more interestingly, if any of these levels are tested and the volume is low, there's no conviction with it, then we're going to look for the market to reverse back to the middle of the range. And you can see exactly what happened today. And well, we got a push higher, which ended up failing and turning. And what happened is we tagged our 10470 level, first target, we tagged the overnight low. And more importantly, the better trade is what we just said. If we're not seeing any conviction at these levels, then a reversal is likely back to the middle of the range, and that's exactly what we got. Now, it gives you such an edge knowing beforehand levels to look and concentrate on your tape, so you can pinpoint these. Anyone who'd seen the overnight low of 10458, and been waiting and could see this flush and this immediate pullback, this is an absolute stonking buy here. When you see this flush, you can see the total move here. You can see at the time is about the quarter two period, and the likelihood is you're going to get a push back into the middle of that range, and that's exactly what we got. So anyone who got that was rewarded, and there was an obvious exit there. Of course, another reason to exit was that the data was coming out at 3 o'clock. So we wait and we see a bit of consolidation as you expect. We get flat. What happened? Spike lower, took out the low, but interestingly, it didn't continue. And as I've said before, I like to see 3 bars. I like to see one, I like to see a second, and potentially a third, but that may form a tail before we get the pullback. And the pullback tends to be like this. And as you know, I like to either draw my trend line here or wait for my ticks to pull back to zero, wait for the break and get short. But if I don't see that and I just see one with a tail like I've done here, let me just clear the drawings and get this back on fresh for you. If I just see a tail like this with no follow through, I'm waiting to see what this candle does here. This, to me, this candle here is the key candle. It's the one you're watching, it's the one you're absolutely focused on the tape for, because this spike here is meaningless if this then follows through and produces another two good candles lower. If, however, you're sitting there undecided, still within the range, still at that key level of 10,470, still above the key level of 10,458, then this is not a bearish signal. And when you start to get a move in the other direction, you know that all the people who have gone short on that, all the people who are expecting a push lower, are going to be scrabbling for the door, and you are thinking that there are new longs positioning, because don't forget, we've been in an uptrend now for the past couple of weeks, and we're pushing to new highs. We've been stuck in this consolidation range for the past 3 days, but we mustn't forget the bullish bias we've got behind us. So what do? As soon as we saw this spike up, we see it on the tape. That's why tape reading is so important. We get long. And what's our first target? Of course, it's the 10,501. What's our second target? The gap fill. You know, that's what we're looking for when we get that move. So we got our first targets. It pushed up, tagged the 01, consolidated, pull around here. Happy to hold it while we're pulling back to this VWAP level, because you could see there's not that much strength in the market by the alternating candle colours. If you've got red, green, red, green, red, green, green, red, green, blah blah blah, then you know there's no one side that's really tipping the balance as such. There's a bit of a battle going on. So you can expect this sort of pullback to about the open, to the VWAP, so you're happy to scale out a good portion there, wait for a further test higher. But when you get the tag and it starts to roll over and you're giving it 2 or 3 minutes and it doesn't start to push out, then there's your exit. So you know, you get your first scales, and this is what's happening in the market at the moment. You know, you're getting your first scales, perhaps a second scale. We're not getting our final target. We end up getting a few ticks on the last batch, but that really doesn't matter. You know, what's happening is we're putting money in the account. We're keeping the trading cautious, we're managing our risk, and that's the most important thing when the days are like this and the ranges are small. And that's what happened. It looked very, very, I mean, this lunchtime area was some of the worst volume I've seen for quite a while. This area here, you can see the range for 10 minutes or so. We just had literally, that's a 2-point range, and the volume is just absolutely diabolical. So you'd be foolish to get caught up in that. And okay, we did at 7 o'clock. You can see 7 o'clock we started to push on. The buyers stepped in a little bit, volume peaked up, and you can see why the volume spiked here. It was taking out that previous high and the gap fill, and perhaps if you jumped on this, but I just can't see any edge with this sort of stuff unless you're in it and you're expecting that sort of move to new highs from earlier on in the day. There were some guys who had done that. There's no day trading opportunities for me. All the day trading opportunities are early in the day when the volume's there, when you can see some indication, you can read the tape a little bit clearer. When the volume's not there, then you've lost your tape edge. So what happened? Well, we've closed at new highs. Something to be wary of tomorrow is the fact that the cash close is going to be different from the futures close, because we've got the 9 o'clock close here. The research in motion results came out, popped us up after hours to this 10,550 level. So it looks like there's going to be a gap up tomorrow, depending on what happens overnight. The overnight levels are very interesting. You've got to pay attention to them. As you can see, actually, the overnight level here was 10,521, coincided with yesterday's high. But look how often we tagged it. I know it was yesterday's high as well, but it just shows you that they're well worth putting on your chart if you're not doing that already. Okay, so let's see what happens tomorrow, guys. We'll see if this breakout actually holds. If there's low volume, then you'll expect it just to grind up slowly. But we'll see. We've got the CPI coming out 1:30 London time, and consumer sentiment. That could change the game completely. So stay on your toes, manage your risk, and good trading. And we'll have another video for you at the weekend. As usual, email me, mark@thedaytradingroom.co.uk, or visit the forum www.thedaytradingroom.com.